The emergency beacon pulsed weakly against the vast darkness of space, its crystalline surface cracked and failing. Inside the escape pod, Naira's bioluminescent patterns flickered in distress as she watched her last power cell drain. The research vessel she'd called home for the past 3 cycles was now nothing but debris, scattered across the outer rim by the pirates who'd attacked without warning. Her people, the Lumini, were peaceful researchers. Their crystalline bodies evolved to capture and process stellar energy. They were respected throughout the galaxy for their scientific achievements, and coveted by pirates for the rare minerals that composed their bodies. Naira had been lucky to escape, but luck was running out as quickly as her power reserves. The pod's sensors chirped a warning. Something was approaching. A ship, but not Lumini design. Not pirate either, thankfully. The configuration was completely foreign to her database. As it drew closer, her translator implant managed to decode fragments of their communications. Unknown vessel, this is the Earth merchant ship Horizon. We're picking up your distress signal. Do you copy? Earth. The word sent a shiver through her crystalline form. Humans, the galaxy's newest spacefaring species, barely 2 centuries into FTL travel. Most advanced races viewed them with a mixture of curiosity and disdain. Primitive apes who'd somehow stumbled into the stars. Their ships were ungainly by galactic standards, their technology crude. But they'd expanded rapidly, pushing into frontier spaces where other species feared to venture. Naira hesitated. Her pod's power was almost gone. Without help, she'd enter emergency stasis within hours. But humans were unpredictable, violent by reputation. Their own historical archives spoke of endless wars, and their bodies still carried the marks of an apex predator species: forward-facing eyes, sharp teeth, aggressive territorial instincts. Another warning chirp: power at critical levels. No choice remained. Earth vessel, she transmitted, her translator struggling to convert her crystalline resonance into human speech. This is Science Officer Naira of the Lumini research vessel Starweaver, requesting emergency assistance. Power failing. Life support critical. The response came instantly. Copy that. Officer Naira. Hold tight. We're bringing you in. Engineering, Prep Bay 2 for emergency retrieval. Medical, stand by for unknown xenophysiology. The speed of their response startled her. No lengthy deliberations about intervention protocols. No cost-benefit analysis. Just immediate action. Their ship's grappling field enveloped her pod with surprising gentleness, drawing it into their cargo bay. The pod's hatch opened to reveal 3 humans in environment suits. Their biosigns registered as elevated: excitement, fear, aggression. Her translator was too weak to process the nuances. Officer Naira. The central figure stepped forward, moving slowly, hands raised in what her database tagged as a non-threatening gesture. I'm Captain Sarah Chen. Can you understand me? Yes. Naira's voice wavered as her power reserves dipped lower. My translator. Functioning, but failing. Need stellar energy, or any high-intensity light source. Otherwise, emergency stasis. Med bays prepped with full-spectrum light therapy equipment. One of the other humans said quickly. We use it for long-duration space adaptation. Should work. Get her there now, Chen ordered, then turned back to Naira. Can you walk? Or should we carry you? The concern in the human's voice seemed genuine. Another surprise. Can walk. Briefly. But need support. Without hesitation, Chen stepped forward, offering her arm. The other humans flanked them, ready to assist. Naira noticed their careful movements, their conscious effort to appear non-threatening despite their predatory nature. It went against everything she'd been taught about humans. The med bay's lights brightened to full intensity as they entered. The medical officer, Dr. Patel, according to her uniform, had already adjusted the light therapy equipment to emit across multiple spectrums. Get those solar lamps over here too, Patel called out. And someone grabbed the emergency fusion cells from engineering. We can hook them up to boost the output. Naira felt her crystalline structure beginning to respond as the light washed over her. Her power reserves stabilized, then slowly began to rise. The humans worked efficiently, adjusting equipment, monitoring her readings, even jury-rigging additional power sources to strengthen the light output. Better? Chen asked after several minutes. Yes. Naira's translator was functioning properly now. You saved my life. I don't know how to thank you. No thanks needed. It's what anyone would do. Chen's expression darkened. Though I'm guessing by the state of your pod, not everyone out here shares that view. Want to tell us what happened? As Naira recounted the pirate attack, she noticed the humans' reactions. Anger at the pirates' actions, genuine empathy for her loss, determination to help. Nothing like the cold calculation or casual indifference she'd expected from supposedly primitive beings. We'll get you somewhere safe, Chen promised when she finished, and we'll report those pirates to the Stellar Patrol. They won't get away with this. The patrol won't act, Naira said quietly. Not for a single Lumini researcher. It's not cost-effective. The humans exchanged looks of disbelief and anger. Well, Chen said finally, good thing we don't give a damn about their cost-benefit analysis. You're under our protection now. And humans, we protect our own. Naira felt her bioluminescence pulse with unexpected emotion. These humans, these supposedly primitive beings, had done more for her in an hour than the so-called advanced species would have done in a lifetime. Perhaps the galaxy's assessment of humanity needed serious revision. The Horizon's communications array crackled to life, holographic particles coalescing into the stern visage of Counselor Vexthor of the Stellar Council. His scaled features twisted into what passed for a frown among the Draconians. Captain Chen, his voice resonated through the bridge. You are in violation of Protocol 7249. Interference with sovereign species affairs. The Lumini researcher aboard your vessel is a subject of ongoing criminal investigation. Chen stood straight, hands clasped behind her back. The bridge crew watched tensely as their captain faced down one of the most powerful beings in the galaxy. With all due respect, Counselor, Officer Naira is a victim of piracy. We responded to a distress signal, as required by basic space law. The situation is more complex than your primitive understanding can grasp. Vexthor's tone dripped with condescension. The Lumini have been conducting unauthorized research in restricted sectors. Officer Naira's vessel was legally seized by authorized enforcement contractors. Authorized enforcement contractors. Dr. Patel couldn't contain her outrage from the medical station. They nearly killed her. Her escape pod was barely functioning. Control your crew, Captain, Vexthor warned. The Stellar Council has maintained peace in this galaxy for millennia through strict adherence to protocol. Your species is too young to understand the delicate balance we maintain. Chen felt her jaw tighten. We understand plenty, Counselor. We understand that you've authorized pirates to attack research vessels. We understand that you're willing to sacrifice innocent lives for your protocols. And we understand that you're using our supposed primitiveness as an excuse to dismiss basic morality. The draconian scales flickered with anger. You dare lecture me about morality? Your species spent millennia slaughtering each other over tribal differences. You nearly destroyed your own planet multiple times. The only reason you're allowed in space at all is because we deemed you might be useful as manual laborers. And yet here we are, Chen replied calmly, defending someone you abandoned. Maybe our primitive morality isn't such a bad thing after all. Your defiance is noted, Captain. Vexthor's voice turned deadly serious. By council authority, you are ordered to surrender the Lumini researcher immediately. Failure to comply will result in severe sanctions against Earth and possible revocation of your species' spacefaring rights. The bridge fell silent. Revocation would be catastrophic for Earth's growing colonies and trade networks. Chen could feel the weight of her crew's futures pressing down on her shoulders. Captain, Naira's crystalline voice came from the doorway, where she stood with Lieutenant Rodriguez. I cannot ask you to sacrifice your species' future for me. I will surrender myself." Chen turned to face her. The Lumini researcher's bioluminescence pulsed with resignation and gratitude. In just 2 days aboard the Horizon, she'd become more than a refugee. She'd become crew. "No," Chen said firmly, turning back to the hologram. "Counselor, I have a counter-proposal. We'll send you all the data Officer Nira collected on illegal activities in the restricted sectors, including evidence of council members collaborating with pirates for personal profit." Vexthor's scales paled. "You're bluffing." "The Lumini are thorough researchers," Chen smiled. "And we primitive humans are very good at finding patterns in data. Would you like to know what we found in the encrypted transmissions from your personal quantum channel? You dare threaten me?" Vexthor hissed. "Not a threat, Counselor. A negotiation. Here's the deal. Officer Naira receives full diplomatic immunity. The pirate attacks stop, and the Council starts treating humanity as equals, not servants. In return, this evidence stays private. You cannot possibly expect." Actually, a new voice joined the conversation as another hologram appeared. A Lumini elder, their crystalline form radiating authority. "I believe Captain Chen's terms are quite reasonable. The Lumini Confederation would be very interested in reviewing the Council's recent activities in restricted sectors." Vexthor's hologram flickered as he struggled to maintain composure. "This isn't over, human." "No," Chen agreed. "It's just beginning. Humanity's done playing by rules designed to keep us subservient. We're writing our own protocols now." After the holograms faded, the bridge erupted in cheers. Rodriguez clapped Chen on the shoulder. "That was either the bravest or craziest thing I've ever seen, Captain." "Probably both," Chen laughed, then turned serious. "But someone had to stand up to them. Their perfect order is built on exploitation and fear. Maybe it's time the galaxy got a dose of human chaos." Naira approached Chen, her crystalline form glowing with complex emotions. "You risked everything. Your career, your species' future, to protect me. Why?" "Because it was right," Chen said simply. "And because humanity learned a long time ago that standing up to bullies is worth any risk. Besides," she grinned, "someone needs to show the galaxy that being primitive doesn't mean being powerless." As the Horizon continued its journey, news of the confrontation spread through subspace channels. Across the galaxy, other species began questioning the Council's authority. Small acts of rebellion flickered like stars in the darkness. Humanity had struck a spark, and change was coming to the galaxy, ready or not. The Horizon's engines hummed at maximum capacity as it pushed through the crystalline nebula of the Cassiopeia Reach. Behind the merchant vessel, 3 sleek pirate ships cut through the stellar dust, their weapons already charged. "They're not Council-authorized anymore," Rodriguez announced from the tactical station, eyes fixed on the sensor readings. "These are the same pirates who attacked Naira's ship, and they look angry." Captain Chen studied the tactical display, a smile playing at the corners of her mouth. "Good. Angry means sloppy. How's our special project coming along? Engineering?" Chief Engineer Maya Singh's voice crackled through the comm. "Ready whenever you need it, Captain. Though I still think you're crazy." "Noted," Chen replied. "Naira, how are those calculations coming?" The Lumini researcher worked at a modified console, her crystalline form pulsing with concentrated energy. "Almost complete. But Captain, this plan, the variables involved. No advanced species would ever attempt something so statistically dangerous." "Lucky we're primitive then," Chen grinned. "We specialize in statistically dangerous." The ship shuddered as the first pirate vessel opened fire, their energy weapons dissipating harmlessly against the Horizon's shields. "For now." "Shields at 87%, Rodriguez reported. "They're using standard Drachnid weaponry. Nothing special. They're not trying to destroy us," Naira observed, her translator conveying concern. "They want to disable the ship. They still think they can claim me as contraband under the old Council authorization." Well, they're about to learn why humans don't appreciate slave traders. Chen's voice hardened. Status of the nebula, science. Dr. Sarah Mitchell looked up from her station. Crystalline density is approaching optimal levels, Captain. But the resonance cascade you're proposing, it's never been attempted at this scale. The energy requirements alone will be met. Naira interrupted, her form glowing brighter. My people understand crystalline structures better than anyone, and with the modifications your engineering team made to the deflector array, it's possible. Dangerous, but possible. Another hit rocked the ship. Shields at 62%. Rodriguez called out. They're getting better at finding the frequency gaps. Time to show them some human ingenuity, Chen decided. Engineering. Route all available power to the modified deflector. Naira, input your calculations into the targeting matrix. Dr. Mitchell, monitor the nebula's resonance patterns. Rodriguez, be ready to shoot any pirates that survive this. The crew worked with practiced efficiency, human and Lumini technology, merging in ways the galaxy had never seen. The pirates drew closer, their confidence growing with each successful hit. They're entering optimal range, Naira announced, her crystalline form vibrating with anticipation. Energy calculations locked in, engineering reports ready, Singh added. Though I still want it noted that using a deflector array as a crystalline resonance amplifier is technically impossible. Impossible is what humans do best, Chen said firmly. Execute. The Horizon's modified deflector array pulsed with brilliant energy, sending carefully calibrated waves through the crystalline nebula. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then, like a symphony of light and energy, the nebula's crystals began to resonate. The effect was devastating. The crystalline particles amplified and reflected the energy waves, creating a cascade of destructive interference that shattered the pirates' shields and overloaded their primary systems. Their ships spun helplessly, weapons and engines dark. Direct hit on all three vessels, Rodriguez reported, unable to keep the awe from his voice. Their systems are completely scrambled. They're dead in space. Send them a message, Chen ordered. Let them know that if they ever come after our friend again, next time we won't just disable their ships. She turned to Naira. Speaking of which, how are you holding up? The Lumini's bioluminescence pulsed with what the crew had learned to recognize as amazement. You actually did it. You took an impossible theory and just made it work, even knowing the risks, even with all the variables. That's humanity for you, Dr. Mitchell smiled. We see something impossible and treat it as a challenge. But the energy calculations alone should have taken weeks to perfect, Naira insisted. The resonance patterns, the crystalline matrix interactions. Sometimes, Chen explained, you have to stop calculating and start doing. Humanity's greatest achievements didn't come from careful analysis of success probabilities. They came from looking at the impossible and saying, why not? As the Horizon left the disabled pirate ships behind, news of the encounter spread quickly through subspace channels. A human merchant vessel had defeated 3 advanced pirate ships using theoretical physics and jury-rigged technology. More importantly, they'd done it to protect a single alien refugee, defying both the Stellar Council and conventional wisdom in the process. You know the Council won't be happy about this, Rodriguez said quietly. We didn't just beat their enforcers, we humiliated them, and we proved their technology isn't as superior as they claim. Good, Chen replied. Maybe it's time the galaxy learned that true advancement isn't about having the most elegant solution. Sometimes it's about having the courage to try the inelegant one. She turned to Naira, ready to show us more impossible things we can make possible. The Lumini researchers' crystalline form pulsed with what could only be described as excitement. I'm beginning to understand why the Council fears humanity so much. You don't just break their rules. You prove their rules were wrong in the first place. That's another human specialty, Chen smiled. Now let's see what other impossible problems need solving. The Horizon docked at Waypoint Station Gamma, a sprawling structure on the edge of Council space. Built centuries ago by unknown architects, it had become a haven for those who operated in the shadows of galactic society. Not all shadows, Captain Chen had learned, contain monsters. Another ship just dropped out of FTL, Rodriguez reported from his portable scanner, making that 17 non-Council vessels in the last 6 hours. Word spreading fast. Chen watched from the station's observation deck as another ship joined the growing fleet. They came in all shapes and sizes, sleek aerothy runners, massive cracks bulk haulers, even a few crystalline Lumini vessels that pulsed with their own inner light. All had one thing in common. They'd chosen to stand against the Council's rigid control. The coalition of free species, Naira said softly, her crystalline form reflecting the starlight. That's what they're calling themselves. Though many just call it the Human Alliance, despite your species being the newest members. We prefer to think of it as a partnership, Chen replied, watching as shuttles ferried between the gathered ships. Representatives from dozens of species were meeting in the station's Great Hall, drawn together by humanity's act of defiance. Everyone here has suffered under the Council's protection. A tall, ethereal figure approached them, its translucent body rippling like water in zero gravity. Ambassador Zilax of the Aerothy, a species the Council had declared too unstable for full membership centuries ago. Captain Chen. The ambassador's thoughts translated directly into their minds. Your reputation precedes you. The human who proved that compassion is not a weakness. Just doing what anyone should have done, Chen replied. But Zilax's liquid form rippled with amusement. That is precisely why your species terrifies the Council, the ambassador continued. You treat extraordinary acts of courage as simple matters of conscience. You make the impossible seem obvious. Their conversation was interrupted by Dr. Patel's urgent voice over the comm. Captain, we're picking up multiple quantum signatures, big ones. Chen's expression hardened. Council ships. At least 6 dreadnoughts, Patel confirmed. They'll be here in 20 minutes. They mean to make an example of us, Zilax observed calmly. To crush this rebellion before it truly begins. Let them try, a new voice rumbled. A massive Krax warrior stepped forward, his armored exoskeleton gleaming. I am War Chief Crom. My people have waited centuries for this moment. The Council called us too aggressive for their paradise. Perhaps they will appreciate our aggression now. More representatives joined them. A collective of silicon-based mechanids whose logic had led them to reject Council control. A group of energy-being Spherians who'd been banned from Council space for corrupting younger species with ideas of independence. Each had their own reason to stand against the Council's authority. The Council believes their technological superiority makes them invincible, Naira said, her crystalline form pulsing with determination. But they've grown complacent. They haven't truly innovated in centuries. Meanwhile, Chen smiled. Humanity's been developing new technologies and tactics every day. And now we have allies who've been watching the Council's patterns for centuries. She turned to address the gathered representatives. The Council thinks they're coming to crush a rebellion. Instead, they're going to learn what happens when you push too many species too far. The next 20 minutes were a flurry of activity. The gathered ships moved into defensive formations, but not the rigid patterns the Council would expect. Human tactical officers shared battle plans that seemed chaotic to their allies at first, until they recognized the underlying brilliance. Krax warriors were paired with Aerothy ships, combining brute force with impossible maneuverability. Lumini crystalline technology interfaced with human targeting systems, creating weapons that could bypass Council shields. Mechanid logic engines merged with human intuition to predict and counter Council tactics. They're dropping out of quantum space, Rodriguez announced. The Council dreadnoughts emerged like leviathans, their golden hulls gleaming with assumed victory. All ships, maintain formation, Chen ordered across the coalition frequency. Remember, we're not fighting for territory or resources. We're fighting for the right to determine our own path. The Council forgot that freedom is worth any price. Time to remind them. The Council ships opened fire, their energy weapons lighting up space, only to find their targets had shifted position microseconds before, guided by mechanid predictions and human instinct. The Coalition fleet's return fire came from impossible angles, Lumini crystals bending energy around Council shields. Impossible. The Council commander's transmission boomed across all frequencies. Your tactics defy all strategic logic. Your technology violates fundamental laws. That's humanity's gift to the galaxy, Chen replied, watching as Crack's warriors breached the flagship's hull while Aerothi ships danced through their defensive fire. We don't accept your limitations. We don't play by your rules. And most importantly, we show others they don't have to either. The battle that followed would be remembered for centuries as the moment everything changed. Not because of the Coalition's victory, though it was decisive. Not because of the innovative tactics that rendered centuries of Council doctrine obsolete, but because it proved that unity born of choice was stronger than unity enforced by fear. As the Council dreadnoughts retreated, their golden hulls scared and smoking, Chen looked at the allies gathered on her bridge. Human, Lumini, Aerothi, Cracks, Mechanid, all working together as if they'd trained for years instead of hours. The real fight's just beginning, she said quietly. The Council won't take this defeat lightly. Good, Crom rumbled. Let them come. They'll find that humans aren't the only ones who can learn new ways of thinking. Perhaps, Naira's crystalline form pulsed thoughtfully. That's the greatest gift humanity has given us. Not just the courage to fight, but the courage to change. The vote that followed would be remembered as the moment the galaxy truly changed. Not because humanity gained a seat on the Council, though they did. Not because the Coalition was recognized as a legitimate political force, though it was, but because for the first time in millennia, the galaxy's ruling body was forced to confront the possibility that perfection wasn't about achieving an ideal form, but about the constant courage to change and grow. As the chamber cleared, Naira approached Chen. When you first rescued me, I thought I understood why the Council feared humanity. I thought it was your unpredictability, your defiance of conventions. But now I see the truth. They feared you because you remind all of us who we could be, if we were brave enough to try. Chen smiled, watching as Council members mingled with Coalition representatives, centuries of barriers beginning to crack. Maybe that's humanity's real gift to the galaxy. Not our technology or our tactics, but our stubborn belief that everyone deserves a chance to define themselves. Primitive thinking indeed. Naira's crystalline form pulsed with what Chen had learned was her version of laughter. Perhaps the galaxy needs a bit more of that. As the stars wheeled overhead, human and alien together began the work of building something new. A future where difference was strength, where change was constant, and where being primitive meant being free to evolve into something greater than anyone had imagined possible.